Hi, this is Mike. Hey, you've had a little problem with antibiotics, so uh, I'm going to tell you the basics of what I know. I honestly believe that antibiotics are almost the cause. They're definitely in the top three, one of the main causes of digestive disorders. So basically, you have intestinal flora. You have an internal gut bacteria that digest your food, and it also makes up about 70% of your immune system, which keeps you healthy. And then, for whatever reason, I'm sure it's out of necessity, modern medicine has found ways to knock back bugs, to allow our bodies to not have to fight off infections and diseases. And this method is called antibiotics, and it's been extremely valuable. It's extended people's lifespans, and it's done a lot of good. However, in these same countries where we heavily use antibiotics, we also tend to take them. Most people tend to have a round of antibiotics every few years for one reason or another. And when we interview digestive disorder patients, it approaches 100% of them who have had a round of antibiotics in the last, some of them have finished a round of antibiotics right as they came to us, and others have had a round or two in the last few years. Either way, this is devastating to your immune system, devastating to your digestive flora. So with that said, I want to make it clear, I do not advise you to ignore your doctor's recommendations. So we are not qualified. None of us at Rachel's Tea or Painfreefoods are doctors or nutritionists, or nor are we scientists. So we're giving you our belief, our learned behavior, our experience based on over 100,000 customer feedbacks and so forth. But whatever we tell you, it's never to contradict your doctor. With that said, I can tell you that if you've gone through antibiotics, a course or two of antibiotics in your life, and especially if you've gone through a course or more in the last 5 years, your immune system and your digestive flora are horribly impacted from this, horribly affected by it. So there's a few things that we do. The first often is to put a person on a very short restrictive diet for a certain number of days. But the easiest thing to do, the thing that's the easiest to use to start correcting this, is probiotics. So probiotics basically are the broad spectrum of bacteria that you need in your gut that work the best at consuming, digesting the foods that we eat. The reason food digestion is important is it's the only way you get nutrition out of things. So when you read the label on the back of a bottle, a jar, a can, or if you look it up on Livestrong or on Google to see what the nutritional information is on anything, it could be a zucchini, an apple, any vegetable, fresh fruit, anything. That nutrition is what exists in the food. It's not necessarily what you receive when you eat the food. That part is dependent on how well you digest your food and the spectrum of probiotics that you have in your gut, which are your beneficial bacteria. Once this level of bacteria that forms your intestinal flora and your immune system start to drop off, which is usually due to either over-acidification or the taking of rounds of antibiotics, or usually both. The nutritional value that's on a label, or is what's contained in an apple or an avocado or something, has no bearing on you because you do not get those nutrients out of that food. We have to help you rebalance that intestinal flora to undo the damage that is caused by the endless prescriptions written for antibiotics. Are they necessary? Absolutely. They save lives, they extend lifespan, they do a lot of good. They also do some damage along the way. These are side effects. These are the normal ramifications of taking drugs like antibiotics. So basically, At Rachel's Tea, Rachel only recommends 2 very specific antibiotics. And they break down like this. They're both high count. One is much higher than the other, but even the lower count probiotic is very high count. They're both very broad spectrum. They're both shelf stable. And they are both acid resistant strains. These are certified, proven, clinically tested acid resistant strains of the entire range or broad range spectrum of probiotics that a person needs to digest their food and boost and preserve their immune system. The reason this acid resistant, these strains are valuable is that in a digestive disorder patient, which is you and I, and we have gone through all this, and most of the symptoms and most of the medications and prescriptions that we have taken, the procedures that we have endured because of this disorder were caused by a problem with our digestive bacteria or a problem directly caused by antibiotics. So this leads to the original problem, which is over-acidification. If you have an acid-related digestive tract, if you have an active mind, if you're a type A, an analytical, an OCD, detail-oriented person, which I am, and many of you are, maybe as much as 80+% of you are like me, this personality type is a high acid type personality. A person like myself, and probably like you, we can't take the normal strains of probiotics because our digestive tract is highly acidic. And even as we begin the program, even in the first couple of months, we're higher than normal. Our pH is lower than normal. Our acid rate, our acid level is higher than normal. If we don't take acid-resistant strains of these probiotics, it's actually a waste of time. And I personally, before I kind of researched this and figured it out, I would buy these $50 to $70 bottles of probiotics at the health food store and wonder why I never felt a single benefit from them. And the reason was probably this. In my personality type, probably yours too, there's always a little pool of acid in the bottom of our stomachs. We take a probiotic and it falls in this little pool of acid in the bottom of our stomach, which kills off virtually the entire spectrum of probiotics, of bacteria, beneficial bacteria that are in that individual capsule. And so we're paying all this money, we're getting none of the good, and we have a protocol that affects that, and we have 2 lines of probiotics that alleviate that problem. One of them is a chewable. We usually recommend that for, very young or senior clients, more like myself, who don't enjoy taking a lot of pills. If you're okay taking pills, the Rachel's Pro 100 is by far the best and the strongest. If you don't like taking more pills than necessary, if you're already taking a handful or you just don't like it, use the Pro Berry Chewable. It has the same acid-resistant strains, a lower count, but the same broad spectrum, shelf-stable, acid-resistant, hybridized bacteria that survive your pH, your stomach, and the level of abuse that's gone on as you have had no choice but to take a round or 2 or 10 of antibiotics throughout your life. This is the solution to this problem. Trust me on this. Try these couple of products at Rachel's Tea. You're going to love me for that. It's a great product. It's going to benefit you. Thanks.